Chào chị, chào bạn. Bạn có khỏe không? Tôi tên là Nick. Rất vui được gặp bạn. Chào mừng bạn đến Hồ Chí Minh.
Tình anh như nước con sông dài, con nước về cho cây trái trổ bông.
Tình em như lúa xanh trên đồng, cây lúa chờ ngày.
I spent an amazing 2 years from 2011 to 2013 working in Ho Chi Minh City at the ABC International School. This was a very interesting experience, certainly from a teaching and learning perspective, because the learning that occurred was so very, very different to the learning that occurs within British classrooms. I'm going to talk through some of the different things that I found out, some of the different things that became evident, and some of the things that feasibly we could put into place back in the classroom in the UK. It's really important to take into account the pressures that our students from Southeast Asia are coming under as a result of FACE and as a result of the expectation of parents to achieve. As a result of this, there are major issues in body image, in confidence, and certainly dealing with the failures that every single student will have during their academic life. We need to be aware of those pressures and how those pressures may impact on the ability of a student within school, and certainly find the different things that could be a trigger point in their lives when coming towards exam periods and results. Teaching within the classroom in Southeast Asia is very, very different, and there is a certain amount of prejudice against Western ways of teaching, certainly from parents and also from students, as it's a learning style that they are not aware of. The teachers predominantly give information rather than allow the students to discover the information for themselves, which is a major, major issue in terms of the uptake and the acquisition of information by students. It means that those students are dependent on the authority figures, the teachers, to give all of that information. This is a type of learning called concrete sequential, where students will follow instructions down to a T. I found this meant that I had to take extra care when writing down instructions for tasks. If instructions weren't included, students wouldn't do it, and if instructions were included, they had to be broken down so that students could go through and check all of the different things that needed to be added in. FACE is an important thing to take into consideration when dealing with parents, grandparents, or students who were not born within the UK and have recently moved. It links into the idea that everything at home is good, everything at school is good, the student is achieving, and there are no barriers to their achievement. Within my school in Southeast Asia, there was a major issue with the acknowledgement of special educational needs by the parents. As a result of this, it led to large numbers of students struggling when support could be given. This especially came into play with students who were clearly autistic or had dyslexic tendencies within their learning. The perception was that it wasn't an issue, and it certainly wasn't something that should be acknowledged as an issue, and in reality the best way to resolve the problems that that student was encountering in the classroom was to make them work even harder. Work ethic in Southeast Asian students, from my perspective, was something that was very, very different and alien to students within the UK. Students were expected to work very, very long hours, and a large number of my students wouldn't think twice about waking up at 4 in the morning and going to bed at 11 or 12 in the evening. It was relatively common for students to be seen sleeping during their break times and their lunch times. Students would, at the end of the school day, generally go for another 4 or 5 hours of learning at a Vietnamese or Korean school within the city. So it was very, very long days. Many students in Southeast Asia tend to prefer a visual learning style and really struggle with kinesthetic learning activities. Students prefer to be introverted learners, learning by rote rather than through discussion and discovery. And they also prefer to listen to the views and expectations of the teacher. And as a result, they really struggle with multiple answers to different questions. This was especially a problem in open-ended subjects like humanities and geography, where there was no correct answer. So here are the 5 main things that I've learned in my time working in Asia. Especially with the exam pressures and pressures to achieve spoken about earlier, it's important that we look out for the signs of stress during the term and also at those trigger points at exam times. This will ensure that they are happy and achieving. It's important to think about how you phrase SEN issues with parents. Sometimes it's important to stress the additional benefits of that support for the student rather than the fact that that student does need support. Secondly, I think it's a case of slowly and gently with the parents rather than very, very quick decisions and very quick changes that happen in their educational plan of that student. The students that I taught were very good at learning and learning by rote, but they were not very good at learning smart. It's really important to think about effective learning strategies and effective revision sessions that will prevent them from working too hard. Think carefully about the instructions that you're giving, that they're broken down nice and clearly and broken down into steps. This will certainly reduce their stress within the lesson and also your stress when trying to answer all of the different questions. My students were mainly visual learners, however I taught a range of different learning styles. It's important that they don't get comfortable just in one style and that the students have got a range of different ways of learning to ensure that they can progress.
Thương con cá rô trên đồng.
Cảm ơn anh chị. Anh gặp lại. Chúc mừng năm mới.